All right. Okay. Share my screen. I'm going to bring up jump. Right. I have my jump journal. Right. All right. Okay. What I am going to do is I'm going to pull up my participants list just so I can kind of see that. And this is what I'd like to do is if you consider yourself, starting off, if you consider yourself a new jump user, don't worry about giving me a no. If you consider yourself a new jump user, say yes. Give me a green check mark with yes. Like, hey, Heath, I've been using jump for less than a year. Okay, good. We have a few people that have been using jump for less than a year. I'm going to go ahead and clear all. What about if I said, hey, give me an idea of if you've been using jump, say, between a year and, say, 5 years? Or even if it's last week. David, you're going to learn a lot today, my man. I mean, you're going to learn a lot. Okay, so about 3 or 4 people between 1 and 5 years. Okay. How about this is, I'm going to go ahead and clear all. Tell me if you've been using jump over 10 years. I know a few of you. I know a few of you. A few of you have been using jump over 10 years. I can see a few names here. Maybe you're shy, but yeah, I know there's a few people here that have been using jump over 10 years. Okay. Well, hopefully I can teach you something. If you've just started using jump, I think you're going to really be excited about some of the things that I teach you about today. I'm not getting any deep statistical subjects or anything like that. All right. First thing I want to do is this: is in the journal you go, wow, you gave me a journal, and I'm just going to even close this up, and I'm going to open my tips and tricks journal open just so that we all look the same. All right. And I'm under tips and tricks. Data table, and it says plant data column names, and it says you will not have this. Okay, the reason why I'm saying you will not have this is it's because it is an Excel file. All right, so I sent you the Excel file. The Excel file looks something like this. All right, and then so as I said is I'm going to do this, and I'm not focusing on step by step so that you can do this along with me. But those of you that want to do this along with me, is like, hey, that's no trouble whatsoever. That's why you have the journal. You also have that Excel file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this Excel file. And in my tips and tricks, you can tell I was doing some jump on air stuff this morning, plant data column names, right? And then so for all of us that are together here, I need you to do one thing, right? I just said file open. I said file open, and I found where it says plant data column names, wherever you put that Excel file, and I just said open, all right? First thing I want everyone to do, and this is something that I do every single time, is I restore default settings. All right, I restore default settings. Next thing that I want you to do, and you say, well, Heath, you're making a mistake here. I know I'm making a mistake. I want to teach you how to correct this, right? Is where it says worksheet contains column headers. If I said import right here, it would import it correctly. All right, but let's just say that I have an Excel sheet that I just imported in. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what it looks like. I brought this in, or any kind of sheet like this. So I'm going to deselect this where it says worksheet names when contains column headers. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go import. Okay. And it looks like this. Right? And this is a mistake, and I'm going to show you why. Is what I have here is I have 17 columns of numbers. Right? This is called the data grid. This is called the row panel. This is called the column panel. This is called the table panel. And what we're going to learn today is there's a unique use for each one of those things. That right there is the menu and toolbar. That there's a purpose for that too. Right. So first thing that I see is all these are continuous variables. All right. It looks like it was brought in from some sort of management information system because it has a lot of decimal places. All right, and then so what I want to do here is I want to, I want to somehow correct this, okay? And really, what I need to do is that column right there is those are all the column names. I need to put those up here, right? And then so many times somebody will spend an awful lot of time making that correction. They'll say, "Hey Heath, this is what I did." So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the escape key, and it clears all column and row selections. Next thing, my friends, where it says 1, I'm just going to click on this. Okay. And from here, I'm going to go edit. I'm going to go copy. And then at my column panel, I'm going to select all these columns. And I'm going to go edit, paste. And it changes all the names for me. So it puts them all up there. All right. Next, you say, well, Heath, what this is showing still, you have that first row is still a bunch of characters. So JMP thinks this is nominal. All these are nominal. I got your back like a chiropractor. Don't you worry. So this one right here, whenever I right-clicked and copied, I said right-click and edit copy. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to right-click. I'm going to delete this row. So it's going to take out that row. Next thing is I need to tell JMP that all 17 of these are numeric and they're continuous. And let's just say that we want them to be 2 decimal places. So team, I'm going to select all these. I'm going to select all 17 of them. And up here where it says temperature 1 or material density or any of these, I'm just going to right click. I'm going to choose where it says standardized attributes. Now I'm going to tell JMP, I'm going to turn on really 3 things under attributes. I need to tell it what the data type is. I need to tell it what the modeling type is. And I'm also going to change the format. So just turn in all 3 of these. So under data type, I'm going to tell JMP that it's numeric. Under modeling type, it's continuous. Under format, I'm going to change it to fixed decimal. We'll go 2 decimal places, it's fine. Now I'm up and running. And you'll see that now it's right justified versus left justified. Now those of you that are new users in JMP, let me give you a heads up, is this is a key in JMP. In JMP, if you've got that first step correct, if you know that it's either categorical, nominal / ordinal, or continuous, is JMP is going to select the correct analysis for you. It helps you solve problems, right? So this is very key. You make these mistakes all the time. Like whenever I have lot numbers, the lot number will be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. JMP will call that a number. And that's really something that I would consider if we have in some sort of order, maybe something that's ordinal, okay? And so I think that's the first key step. If you're a new JMP user, write down always. Look, I've been using JMP since 2001, right? Since I was 8 years old, okay? And so every single time is I check and I say, now did it get it correct? And a lot of times it's because in a lot of industries that I work in, you have something that says, hey, Heath, I'm a scientist and this is below the limit of detection. So you have a bunch of numbers and you have LOD. Well, JMP sees a character, goes, I know how to take a number and turn it into a character, but not the opposite way. Okay. All right. Wanted to show you that. And that was from my journal. Wanted to show you how to copy and paste column names and how to standardize attributes. Okay. If you hit, first thing I want you to do is hit initialize and then hit delete all, save none. And it'll close that data set for you. Next, let's open up plant data start. Plant data start. 22 columns, 84 rows. Let's do a few things with this. Okay, first thing I do not want you to do, I'm going to show you this. If I said analyze distribution and I chose plant, you would look and you would say, hey, Heath, it looks like that you have 20 different plants. And I would say, no, I don't. I really have 4 different plants. Altoona, I have Eau Claire, I have Kansas City, and I have Midland. But you had somebody in your organization that spelled this differently. Okay, you see Altoona, Eau Claire, Kansas City, and Midland. Let's go ahead and correct this, okay? Let's go ahead and correct this so that it's just Altoona, it's just Eau Claire, it's just Kansas City, and it's just Midland, okay? All right, so I'm gonna close this up. And so together, let's do this. I'm gonna hit the escape key. I'm gonna select plant because this is the column that I wanna recode. Next is I'm gonna go to columns. I'm gonna go down where it says recode. Right. Now what you can do is you can put it in a new column, right? If you put it in a new column, you're gonna keep that was not corrected, and you're gonna have a new column with the corrected. Okay, so what you're saying is I want to keep a history of what we did here, right? You could also put it into a formula column. In a formula column, what it's going to do is as you add data points to this, it's going to correct them if they look like this. It'll go, oh, last time you spelled it like this, let me go ahead and correct it for you in the new column, right? You could also correct it. In this case, we're going to do this. We're going to change this to in place. Okay, so we're going to correct it in place. So I'm going to go in place. Next, I'm going to choose all the Altoonas. I'm going to go group. Altoona. I'm going to take all the Eau Claires. I'm going to group. And all the Kansas Cities. I'm going to group. And all the Midlands. I'm going to group. I'm going to recode, and you see that it changes them in place. So if I look at that is now I have the 4 different plants, right? One thing I do know that a few of you are doing this along with me is I do want you to know is there's an awful lot of things that you can do, right? I mean, you can convert all the title case to uppercase, lowercase, trim white space, collapse white space, removing on a punctuation. There's things that you can do automatically through this, all right? And so I do want to let you know that under the little red hot spot in Recode is that something that's very helpful, right? You can go ahead and save this somewhere that you're doing, right? We'll do a few more things with this. Once again, I'm gonna hit escape so that I clear all column selections off. All right. Good. Just a quick, Jim, can you come over? I just had someone say that they can only see the data table. Jim? Jim?
Yeah, I just answered that, Heath. So yeah.
Okay. So are the menus showing up here?
Yeah, it's all good. Yep.
Okay, just a short lag. Okay.
Yeah,
just I see that. I see that. Just checking.
Yep, it's all good.
Right. From here, a few things that I want to show you is one, how to select. Like if I said I want to select all the Altoonas. Right, so it looks like that I have all the Altoonas. That's a pretty easy one. What if I want to select all the ones that were done on bottom? Right, so I have press machine bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say, so I'm going to just select bottom, right click, and select matching cells. And you see that down here, it tells me that I have 61 of those selected. Okay, right. Now, that was pretty easy. I think a lot of you know how to do that. Really what I wanted to show you is what if you said, hey, Heath, I want to select those that are on top from supplier A. And then so I want to select, you know, I know how to select supplier A. I know how to select top in supplier. I know how to select top. But how about if I said, you know, top in supplier A? So 2 different ones, right? There's a way to do that in Jump. So you see that I selected, say, bottom and supplier A. And then now if I go over here to where it says 4, really what I'm doing is I'm saying, I want you to select rows that have both of those columns selected. Right click, and I can say select matching cells, and you're going to see that it does it for both of those. Okay. Now, why is that key? The key with that is now what I can do is even if I say, wow, now I'm going to select plant, you know, and now what I want to do is I want to subset this data set of those selected rows and selected columns. And now I have all of the, you know, all of the plants were bottom and I have supplier A. So you're very easily subsetting data sets. All right. A few more things with this. Let's just say that these are 4 different, really 3 different steps and some final measurements. So if I select all those columns here in the column panel, those are all step 1. What I can do is I can group those by just, once I have them selected, right click, and I can go down to where it says group columns. And I'm going to double click and I'm going to call that step 1. And say vessel type all the way down to cell count is step 2. Same thing as I can select the columns that I want for step 2, right click, group columns. I'm gonna double click on it, call it step 2. And say pressure 3 down to time 3 is step 3. I select those 3, right click, group columns, step 3. Last but certainly not least, top, bottom, top, center, left, right, and bottom. These are all my final measurements. Same thing, I'm gonna select them, right click, go down where it says group columns. I'm gonna call these final measurements. Now, whenever you look at this, you should probably think, who cares? This is why you should care, is because if you said analyze distribution, what you have here is say that you have 400 variables. You don't have to scroll down this list right here to find those that are in step 3 because there are 300 variables down the line. What you can do is just open up step 3 and pull up those variables so you can focus on one step in any JMP analytical platform, right? Just say that you have final measurements and you say, Heath, I want to look at all the final measurements, and we don't have 5, but we have 500 of the final measurements. You just take final measurements and you just drag it over here and it'll pull all 500 over there. You see that? Okay, right. I want to teach you one more thing in this section is how to choose all of the ones that are on bottom that have a thickness greater than 40, okay? Right. It's called the global data filter. I can go to rows, data filter. Right. I said under step 1, I said all the ones that are on bottom, that would be breast machine position, that had a thickness, I'm gonna hold the control key down, of greater than 40. I just select both the things that are my criteria and I add. And I say bottom, greater than 40, greater than or equal to 40 actually. And then now I see that there is 50 of these that are on bottom that have a thickness greater than 40. Now the key here is you say, well, Heath, I just want to look at the subset of those. And I go, those are just 50 of them. And you can go little red hotspot next to data filter, and you could just choose show subset. And then now you have a subset of those 50. Okay. Outstanding. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Well, let's look at some things with formulas, right? So I'm gonna close up data table, I'm under formulas. I'm sorry, close up, I'm gonna open up formulas where it says plant data start. From here, how to build a basic formula, right? Quite simply, watch this first part, okay? Because I'm going to show you how to do it easier. If I said, hey, I want a new column and I want to call this average temperature, average temp, I could build a formula by just going formula. There's multiple ways to do this, okay? And let's just say that I wanted the average temperature. Temperature 1 plus 3, and then I take this whole thing divided by 2. And I have that average temperature. Right? The reason why I said there's an easier way to do this is because of this reason. Let's open up step 1 and step 3 here. Right? And you see what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these columns, temperature 1 and temperature 3. Now, whenever I have those selected and I say, hey, Heath, there's temperature 1, there's temperature 3, and I want to take the average of those in a column, you do not have to go through all those steps that I just showed you. What you can do is right click on either one of them, temperature 1 or 3, go down to where it says new formula column, combine to the average. And you'll see right beside it is it provides the average of those two. Those are pretty simple formulas. You see that? All right. So I want to show you multiple ways how to do formulas. I'm going to teach you another way how to do that in Graph Builder. I want you to scroll all the way to the right, and where it says top, center, left, right, and bottom. Okay? This is what we're going to do. I've already told you standardized attributes, so we're going to use that. And two things that I'm going to do. I'm going to put units on here, because now if I said analyze distribution, top, center, left, right, and bottom, you'll see that there's no units down here. So we're going to put units on those. We're going to just say millimeters for all of those. And we're going to change it to 2 decimal places. Sound good? So top, center, left, right, and bottom. All right. I'm going to have all of them selected. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go standardize attributes. Under standardized attributes, under column properties, first thing I'm going to choose is units. All right, I'm going to call this millimeters. Next thing I'm going to do, just like I did before with attributes, format, fixed decimal, 2 decimal places. Okay. I said 1 decimal place, we'll go 2. Now I want you to save that. Good. I just changed it to 2 decimal places and I just added units. Next, I want you to open up plant data end. Now let's just say that you have another data set that looks very similar to the one that you have. This one only has 42 data points in it. And you go, but Heath, I have those final measurements and I know how to change them to decimal places, but say that I wanted to put the units or a formula or any of those things, I want to transfer it from here to here. Then I go, oh, okay, well, we'll just select one of these and you can right click and say copy column properties. And you come over here in the new data table, right click, paste column properties, and you're going to see that now all of them have any column property that you have. You put units on this, but it will transfer any of those things, spec limits, value labels, value colors, any of those, control limits, any of those that you put there. Okay, I just did a simple one just to show you the capability, but it's going to transfer them from one data table to the other. And you see that I chose those. They don't have to have the same column name. Okay, you can also transfer multiple, like if you had 5 and 5, and they were different units, anything like that. Good. All right. For my journal, I'm going to go delete all, save none. I'm going to hit next, and we're in the fill. All right. I'm going to break into my participants list here. I'm going to clear all. Does anyone know Brady? Someone know Brady? Give me a yes if you know a guy named Brady. I got this data set from Brady. He showed me this data set. Him and I were playing around one time, probably about a week and a half ago. His real name is Brady. His first name is Brady. His second name is Brady. He went to Naval Academy. We won't have that against him. He's a good guy if you're into that sort of Naval Academy kind of guy. But his middle name is Phil. So if you ever run into Brady, you'll know him. He has a really easy haircut to keep in any kind of quarantine or lockdown because he has no hair. So what you'll see is I want you to walk up to him and say, I heard your middle name is Phil. All right. The reason why is because he knows an awful lot about Phil in jump data tables. All right. So I have to give him credit, and I named this data set Brady, Phil, Brady. Okay. And then so with Phil, I want to show you a few things with this. Is open up this Phil data set, right? And I wanted to show you that, say that you have a data set and you say, hey, this one right here, Heath, I want, all ones. Okay, so I want all ones here. This is pretty easy to do. As I have a 1, I select a 1, and I right click and I say fill to the table. and it just fills those up for me. Next, you say, Heath, I have a 1, 2, 3, and I want this to say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I go, okay, so just choose 1, 2, 3, and right click, fill. You can repeat sequence to the end of the table and do the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right. If you say, well, Heath, really what I wanted to do is I wanted to continue the sequence to the end of the table. And I say, okay, you can do that too. I want you to move over to C6, where you have car, bike, boat, okay? This is something that's character and nominal. It'll do the same thing here. Right click, fill to the end of the table. It'll repeat that sequence, okay? It can't continue the sequence because it doesn't know what the sequence would be with something categorical. All right. Now here's two things that I want to show you that you may not know. I think a lot of you that have done fill actually know that. But what if you have, 2 times 3 is 6 and 6 times 3 is 18? What if we did this? What if we chose 2, 6, 8 and we did this? Fill, and we say continue sequence to in the table. Jump would pick up that sequence. It's pretty good. I was trying to test something the other day that I had different sequences where it would have to pick up which one it was. If anyone has a good example that I want to test jump out for that it could be one of like 3 sequences, I think it picks the most obvious sequence. All right. So I think everything before that you may have known that jump would do, but let me show you this. What if you have A and you want to fill all the A's there, and the B and you want to fill all the B's there, and the C's you want to fill to there. Okay. What you can do is you can select what you want filled. And now whenever you right click under fill, you'll see where it says replace missing with previous value, and it'll fill in those missing values for you. I saw a good example the other day where someone brought in a sheet from Excel that had, in the very first cell, they had the name of the state, and then they had a list of all the counties or parishes or whatever they're called in Alaska. All right. And they're like, hey, you know what I've been doing is I'm just copying and pasting, and I can jump will fill those for you. If you chose the entire data set, of course, jump would fill, it would fill all the way down for you. So it does that. Actually, the very first step that I did there, edit, undo. If you did the whole thing with missing values, it does the whole table for you. I'll also do continuous. So if I have this and I say, hey, I want to do this for continuous team, it'll do the exact same thing for you. Okay. All right. We'll fill action. All right. Open up notes. Okay. I'm going to open up notes, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask a question. Okay. I'm going to ask a question and see how this has worked for anyone. So under notes, let's go process control chart 2. Right. And I'm just building a basic process control chart. Team, a few things that I want to show you. Okay. Let's just say this is a process control chart. And what we did is we did this analysis on 5/14/20. Okay, so I want to show you a few things with notes here. Under process control here, I'm going to go new table variable. I'm going to call this notes with a capital N. Okay, I'm going to say I conducted this analysis. There we go. On 5/14/2020, and I'll put my initials. And I'm gonna save it. Now the good thing is now whenever I go try to open up that file, is you're gonna see that note is right there. Okay, so that's one way to do notes in a table panel. You can also do notes in a column panel or in a column, like for temperature. I'm going to right click on temperature and go column info. And down here in our column properties, I'm going to put a note. Okay. This temperature was taken at the end of day 1. So now whenever somebody gives me this data set and I hover over it, I have a bubble that says, hey, this temperature was taken on the end of day 1. Any kind of note that I want someone to see about temperature. Right? I'm going to show you another way to do notes. Let's just say that I build a control chart, and I have control chart builder already set up here. Right? And what you see is I have one data point right here. That's a lot different than the rest. Okay. Well, we found a reason for that data point right there. There's a reason why for that temperature is out. Okay. Right. That's data point 21. And then, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use JMP. I always say use the software, don't let it use you. I'm going to create a new column. I'm going to call this my comments. And so for data point 21, this abhorrent mistake is due to a Dan Fortune. And we're going to put the date that Dan Fortune made this mistake. This was on 3/1/2020. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is open the column panel. If I label this, now whenever I have a control chart, what I see is if I hover over this data point, it's going to tell me that this abhorrent mistake is due to Dan Fortune. I can even select that data point right there and say rows label, and it'll even put it on here. Okay, I always say use the software, don't let it use you. So 3 different ways how to do notes. You can do a note in the table panel. You can do a note within a column. You can also create a column with notes and label that. All right. So this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my participants list. I am going to clear all. This is what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to tell me yes if you've learned something that you did not know was in JMP. If you go, hey, I learned something new today. If not, you can say, no, Heath, I'm so far so good. I'm good. Everything you showed, I actually know. Okay, Thomas, I'll try to answer your message at the end. Okay. Let's see. All right. Oh gosh. All right. I had someone say, can you teach me how to do Brent Jen's pie chart? The answer is no. I'm not teaching about pie charts today. Okay. Let me show you some other things. All right. So under tables, let's talk about plant data. I want to show you summary tables and tabulate. Okay. So from here, I'll show you summary tables. The reason why I like summary tables is things are linked. So let's just say that I say, hey, Heath, I want to know the average yield of plants. Okay. So I could go tables from plant data right underneath here, plant data. And I'm going to go tables, summary. Under step 2, I take yield, statistics, mean, and I'm going to group by plant. I'm going to go okay. Right. Now you see that if I choose this yield or Altoona, is you see that it shows in these 2 data tables are linked, the original and the summary table. Right. Now, I know a lot of you know that already, those of you that are JMP users, but did you know that that column right there can be brought to the original data table, being that it's linked? Like I can just grab it and drag it over here, and now I have that in my original data table. Did you know you could do that? All right. Now, that's one way of doing it. You could also do this. You could also say, if you said, I want mean yield grouped by plant, you could also do it this way. Where I have plant, I could just say right click, new formula column, group by plant, and then go over to yield and do column properties. I'm sorry, new formula column, aggregate mean, and you'll see that this is the mean yield of each plant. Okay, 2 different ways how to do that. Now, if I want to build a summary table, and I want to be able to drag and drop, that's called analyze, tabulate. Analyze, tabulate. And let's just say that I wanted the mean and standard deviation of yield, and let's just say that I wanted the min and max of cell count. So I'm going to take plant, I'm just going to drag it here. Start over. Let me deselect that. Plant, drag it here. And let's just say that I wanted yield. I'm going to drag to where the numbers are. I wanted the mean and standard deviation. Now if I want the min and max cell count, I take cell count, and I'm not just going to drag it next to yield because it'll give me the mean and standard deviation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it and create a whole new column so that now I can take min and max on top of sum and look at both of those. Now say you like how this table is and you say, well, I also want to break that out by vessel type. You can break it out so that plant is nested underneath vessel type. You can break it out that plant, that vessel type is nested underneath plant. You could also take vessel type and create a whole new row for it. Say even further, you said, hey, Heath, I want to break this out into 2 different suppliers. You know, and let's see, is that our machine positions. There's something called page column down here. If I drag it to page column, what I can do is select, there's the bottom, and there's the top. Okay, a few different things in tabulate. Distribution, a few different things in distribution. First, very often I'll have someone that says, hey, Heath, just watch this. I use distribution, and what is freak? It's frequency. Where would that be used? Okay, let me just show you this. Just watch this. Just want to show you where frequency is used. I just said that I had a bunch of medical patches that were defective and non-defective. If I said analyze distribution and looked at the status, it would tell me that I had, 2,540 of them non-defective, 25 were defective. All right. But let's just say that I was recording this data. Could you imagine that I kept recording non-defective and then, finally, write defective down here? Now, what I'd most likely do is I'd most likely do it like this. So I have defective 25, non-defective 25, 40. Now, if I did status this way, it's just going to say 1 and 1. Okay, it's going to say your frequencies is 1 and 1. Oh, okay. So if I did this and said, hey, that frequency is, I have a column with those counts or frequencies, it does that count for me. That's what frequency is. Okay. Let's do some other things with distribution. So first, plant data. And with this is let's just pull up the distribution here. All right, this is just plant and thickness. All right. First thing I wanted to show you is if you said, hey, Heath, I just want to focus on Kansas City. Right. All you need to do is just in this case is just double click on Kansas City, and then you have all the Kansas cities. Double click on all the Midlands, and you have the Midlands. Right. Even if you said, Heath, I want to focus on the low thicknesses, if I hold the shift key down, I can focus on the low thicknesses. Okay. Those are just the low thicknesses, right? Let's just say that you say, Heath, I want to remove plant from distribution, okay? As I just go up here and I remove it. And say that instead I want to look at, say, machine position. You can just drag it in here and just drop it, and then you have machine position. Right. Next, I'm going to go analyze distribution, and I'm going to look at all the final measurements. If you say, look at all those decimal places, Heath, I want all these to be 2 decimal places. I go, okay, no worries. We're just going to double click here and change the format to fixed decimal, 2 decimal places. You see it changes all of them for me. See that? Right. Next is, hey Heath, I have 2 potential outliers here and here. I need to go find them. And it's a large data set. It's not 84, it's 84,000. I can go back to my data table. Okay, you see that I have 2 of them selected. I don't see which 2 they are. But if I hit F7, JMP will go find them for me. That's the first one that I have selected. That's the second one that I have selected, and it'll even blink for me. See that? Okay, really useful in large data sets. All right. All right. Fit Y by X. A few things in fit Y by X. Let's pull up plant data. First, it looks like that I saved the script right here of yield by blend speed, okay? We're not gonna do that one, we're gonna do another one instead. So together, so I can show you how to save the script. Let's go analyze, put Y by X. Let's look under step 1. Let's look at thickness as my response, and material density as my X factor, right? Does it look like there's a relationship? Well, first, those of you, a few people new to JMP, hold tight real quick. Watch this. You see that my data points are all dark. If I right click on the graph, I can go down to where it says row legend and say I want them to colored or marked by plant. And that's just what I did there, okay? So does there look like there's any relationship between thickness and material density? No, there's not. Okay, do not do this next step. If you say, well, Heath, I also want to look at temperature, see if it's between thickness and temperature. You can take temperature 1 and just drag it over to the x-axis. Oh, there looks like there's a relationship there. And now, Heath, I also want to check between thickness and pressure. Okay, we'll just take pressure and just drag it over to the x-axis. Now you think, hey, that's pretty cool, Heath. It looks like that you're just switching out the variables / columns. That's exactly what I'm doing. Hey, team, that is called the column switcher. In different parts of JMP, it'll be right there in your menu and toolbar, and it'll look like 2 columns next to each other. And you can say what column to switch out, material density, and what do you want to switch in? All 3 of these. And you can switch between these. And of course, you can play it and record a GIF file. Right. It'll play for you. Okay. How to save this script to the data table? I have a green plus sign in version 13. It's a key. You can also go bivariate, save script to data table. But I'm just going to use a green plus sign. Bivariate thickness by temperature 1. Right. Go ahead and save this. I'm going to call this plant data Heath. Right. Let's just keep this up because I want to use it down in this transfer script section. Right? Let's pull up this fit y by x of blend speed right here, this one right here. I want to show you, just watch this, is if you wanted to fit one line by each plant, okay, you could do that by grouping by plant and just fitting a line. And what you're doing is you're just grouping a line for each plant, right? Now, good news, bad news is you can do that. You know, bad news is it's looking pretty rough here. There's Altoona and Eau Claire and Kansas City and Midland. But let's just say that you wanted to just focus on two of these and compare Eau Claire versus Kansas City or Altoona versus Midland, something like that. What you can do is JMP has something called a local data filter. Okay, remember that global data filter? It has a local data filter where I could filter on plant and I could choose each plant individually for the analysis. Or I could choose multiple ones and do a comparison of them. Local data filter. Okay, I'll show you local data filter. I'll come back to plant data Heath. Graph builder. Let me turn on my participants list. Who's ever used graph builder? Give me a green check mark. Yes, if you've ever used graph builder. Yeah, a lot of people use graph builder. Okay, let me show you some things with graph builder. Together, I'm just going to go graph from that plant data. I'm going to go graph builder. Okay. The first thing I want to show you is under step 1. I'm going to take thickness, drag it to the y-axis, temperature 1, drag it to the x-axis. Next, if I say, hey, Heath, now I want to break this out by machine position because I have 2 different positions on the press machine. There's different ways I can do this. I can group X, I can group Y, or I can bring it up to overlay. Okay, so I see that thickness is a function of temperature, but it's also a function of whether I'm on the top or bottom. Next, let's say for some odd reason, 1/3 of the time we're on top and 2/3 of the time we're on bottom. And I say, yeah, I wonder if it's the same for every plant. So I could take plant and I could group X, break it out by group X. No, that doesn't look so good. Or group Y, right? Or I could group it out by what I call the LL Cool J way. LL Cool J, if none of you know, don't call him an actor. He's not an actor. He's a rapper. I love LL Cool J because I like W-R-A-P, rap. Gives me what's called a trellis graph, is I have something that's symmetric. Right? If I want a different graph for every single plant, what I can do is I can just take plant and drag it to the down the lower right-hand corner where it says page, and I have one for Altoona, and I have one for Eau Claire, and I have one for Kansas City, and I have one for Midland. Good? All right, start over. Let me show you something from step 2. Let's take yield on the y-axis, blend speed on the x-axis. All right. Now I'm going to have you take your hand off your mouse if you're following along with me because I'm about to show you something that you're not going to like. I'm going to take cell count. I can drag it up to the top, and now I have 2 different graphs. So my y-axis is split into cell count on top, yield on bottom. That's one way of doing it. I can also drag it on bottom. Now I have yield on top and cell count. I can also drag it right inside this axis here. The thing is with that right there is they're in different units. Okay, I can do the same thing by just taking yield and cell count. Yield and cell count, and dragging them to the y-axis, and blend speed to the x-axis. You're like, Keith, I don't like that because they're in dramatically different units. Well, good. Take and right-click on this and move the cell count to the right. So then now you have two different axes right here. I can see the relationship between yield and cell count. And now you may say, those of you that are biologists may say, yeah, Heath, of course, you have more cells. You increase the blend speed, cells go up. Of course, yield is going to go up. Cells produce things. That's how you live, my man. Okay, really what we need is yield divided by cell count. I go, okay. So you want yield divided by cell count? Right-click on them. Combine. Ratio. What do you want to call that? Right-click on it. Rename it normalized yield. You want it back in your data table? Then right-click on it and add it back to the data table. And it'll pull it back in the data table for you. And of course, you can look and see normalized yield as a function of blend speed. It looks pretty consistent. Okay. Now I wanted to tell you that you can always, for say like this graph builder, a few different things you can do with it. First thing I want to do is teach you that you can save the script to a script window. Right? Right. So if I have this script here and say that I have another data set, I call plant data Heath. That's very similar. Okay. I had this script. I've saved it. I could always pull this, plant data Heath up and run the same script on plant data Heath. I don't have normalized yield. Maybe it would be best if I said, here we go, yield times blend speed. I wanted to show this. Let me save this script. File, save as. I'll just call it Wizzo script 2. And now I can choose up here. I can choose what data table to run it on. Bam, there I go. And now I'm running on the new data set. You can also do this. Say that I have a script that I have saved for in a plant. Here's my plant data. Say that I have a script that I saved in plant data Heath. And I say, well, I have this script here. I can just right click and copy. And I can just paste it to this one right here. Okay, and it runs it on that new data table. Okay, so you can transfer scripts that way. All right. One more thing from Graph Builder I want to show you. Say that you did in a Graph Builder. You did say, remember we did this thickness, temperature 1. And press machine, and I did overlay. Okay. I say that I want to build a model with this. I just right click and say launch analysis, and JMP will automatically go into fit model with thickness and all these right here. Okay. It's just under the red hot spot here. Once I have something built, I can just launch analysis, and it's going to launch fit model off of that. All right. That was my transfer script. Last thing I want to show you is under fit model, is I'm going to augment D to I optimal design. Okay, I already have the script saved. I am just going to run a model for yield. Right. I'm sorry. I sincerely apologize. I want to run the both model right here for yield and byproduct. Right. Okay, two things that I want to show you is one, those of you that like the profilers, I'm going to turn on the profiler. I'm going to go up here and turn on the contour profiler. And I wanted to show you that in both of these profilers, whenever you have them, by default, if you move this here, it doesn't get moved here. But if you go to contour profiler, you can, under factor settings, you can link those profilers. So that if I move it here, it's going to have the same values here. Right? The other thing that I wanted to show you, just two things. One is you say, hey, Heath, I want a table of all of the significant process parameters for yield and byproduct. And I say, no problem. Here's the ones that are significant for, for yield, and we have the same thing for byproduct. What you can do is you can right click on this and say make combined table. Now I have a table of my responses and factors. And I have my p-values. I'll even spell this incorrectly. I guess I didn't spell it horn correctly. Sorry, Dan. Still in horn. Now, the cool thing is now what I can do is remember tabulate that I showed you before? Is I can take my response and my factors, and I can build a table, especially if I have a large number of responses, that has all my responses, all my factors, and the p-values associated with them. All right, last thing I want to show you is this, I ran this analysis right here. How do I make this into a PowerPoint presentation? File, save as, PowerPoint, and JMP will make a PowerPoint presentation for you automatically. And you say, yeah, but the prediction profiler doesn't move. If I move time and pH and temperature and rate, it doesn't tell me what my yield and byproduct are going to be. Don't worry. If you said file, save as, and you called it an interactive HTML with data, we'll call this, I know Sarah's was on the line, Sarah's fit model. Is it gives you an HTML file that you can send someone without JMP. And you know what? This profiler moves. Get your popcorn ready. Okay, that's what I'd like you to do is, I know that there's a lot of stuff. I wanted to show you as much as I could. All right, I do think that we recorded this one. In the chat, I'd like you to send me something that we taught you, something that you learned. Okay, I want you to send me something where you say, hey, this is something that you taught me that I didn't know how to do in JMP, Heath. I'd like you to do that in the chat, those of you that are still remaining. Hopefully I taught you something. And you're not going to hurt my feelings even if you say, you didn't teach me anything. I knew all that. All right, so in the chat, before you leave, that's your job, is to send me something that you learned. Heath, I learned how to do this. Anything?